All right, so every year in the NFL, there's always a team that comes out of absolute nowhere and makes a playoff run. Last year, that team was the Houston Texans. The year before that, that team was the New York Giants. This season, I think that team could very well be the Indianapolis Colts. Now, hear me out. Their general manager, Chris Ballard, absolutely nailed the draft again this year, drafting Laiatu Latu from UCLA, the defensive end, and Adonai Mitchell, the speedy wide receiver from Texas. I love both of those picks, and I think they're going to fit perfectly into their respective schemes. Latu is going to start immediately. He's developed, he's ready. The Colts are just going to plug and chug with him. Adonai Mitchell, he needs a little bit more development, but he'll be inserted in there sooner rather than later, and I think that he will have a drastic impact on that Colts offense. And needless to say, Laiatu Latu is going to have an instant impact on the Colts defense. You'll see it very early on. It's also worth mentioning that the Colts have a very underrated wide receiver room. Michael Pittman is finally starting to reach his potential. He was a 1,000-yard receiver last year, and a lot of us that believed in him knew that he had this in him. And now it's starting to take effect, and I think that you'll see Michael Pittman consistently be a 1,000-yard or around a 1,000-yard receiver year in and year out now at this point. He's got that confidence, and he's developed to the point where you can expect that out of him year in and year out. Josh Downs, he had a promising rookie season last year. Now, it wasn't explosive like Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson or anything, but he had a reasonably promising rookie season, something that he can build on in the future. And Alec Pierce, he's not a name that everybody talks about, in your fantasy groups and whatnot, but Alec Pierce is a receiver that's become more and more consistent week in, week out, and I think that you'll see him develop and elevate even more this year. He's coming more and more into his own every week, every year. Defensively, this is where the Colts drastically have to improve. Last year, the Colts allowed 24.4 points per game. You can't have that in the NFL. You're going to lose a lot of games that on paper you should win if that's the case. However, they added some very good names to this defense, some names that could have an instant impact, such as Jalen Jones, Laiatu Latu, and Raekwon Davis from the Dolphins on the defensive line. And I think that those names in itself could improve this defense from where it was last year. It needs it because it was abysmal last year. So this defense definitely has to improve. But there's a lot of young guys on this defense, but I like the combination of those younger guys with some of the veteran leadership on the Colts defense. You've got DeForest Buckner, who's a veteran. He's been a fantastic defensive player in the NFL for a while now. And you also got Zaire Franklin. So having those veteran guys there, and then younger guys on the defense that have a lot of potential, that are just waiting to get that work out of them, I think that that's a fantastic combination. And it's going to take a while to go from 24.4 points per game to one of the better defenses in the NFL. But I think that this defense for the Colts can make some strides this year, and I think you should expect to see that in the 2024 season. Of course, you cannot forget one of the best running backs in the NFL, Jonathan Taylor. He's explosive. His ability to shoot the gap and find holes is unbelievable, and his burst is insane as well. Don't let Jonathan Taylor get loose. Don't let him get hot, or else whoever has him on their fantasy teams will be absolutely balling, and he'll just continue to rack up the yards and the touchdowns because he is an absolutely dynamic running back. And, of course, the Colts get Anthony Richardson back for this season. He's their dynamic dual-threat quarterback that they drafted from Florida last year. Last year was his rookie year, and I think he was off to a reasonable start before he got injured, and that was unfortunate, but now Anthony Richardson is recovered, and he is ready to ball this year. So it's just a similar situation to that Bengals video that I made several weeks ago, to where you had your starting quarterback go out, and you had to recalibrate your expectations for that reason. And the trajectory of your season was obviously kind of skewed by the fact that you didn't have your starting quarterback for a lot of the season. The Colts missed Anthony Richardson a lot last season, and it had a drastic impact. And not to mention, the Colts were still a game away from winning the AFC South, a game away from going to the playoffs last year, with Gardner Minshew as their starting quarterback. Now, Gardner Minshew is indeed one of the better backups in the NFL. Love Gardner Minshew. But when you don't have your starter, even if he's a rookie, that's going to have an impact, especially when the vision for this Colts offense last year was to have Anthony Richardson rush a lot and kind of pair that off with the rushing attacks from Jonathan Taylor and spread that offense out, use it to open up the passages. They had to kind of readjust their strategy to fit the mold of Gardner Minshew, who's more of a pocket passer. This Colts offense wasn't able to do a lot of the things that they planned to do last year with Anthony Richardson being out. But now that you have him in place, expect this offense to look a lot more dynamic and the Colts to reach offensive goals that they had planned to last year that they couldn't with Anthony Richardson being out. And kind of like the Texas A&M video that I just put out, I'm not at all insinuating that the Colts are going to make like an AFC Championship or a Super Bowl run by any means. But you look at the composition of this Colts team, and you say to yourself, what is there not to like? You have a young quarterback with a lot of potential, a dual threat, very quick Anthony Richardson. Yes, he's working on his passing abilities, he's working on his accuracy, but with the work ethic that Anthony Richardson has, you know he's going to improve that. But most importantly, the leadership that Anthony Richardson has. This young man is one of the most influential leaders at the quarterback position in the NFL. And he's just going into his second year. I mean, time and time again, you hear the stories of Anthony Richardson's leadership coming out of that Colts building. That has an impact. And when you have drive, ambition, and leadership like that, you're going to succeed. It's just a matter of time. So I trust Anthony Richardson in that regard. You have one of the best running backs in the NFL. You have an underrated receiving room. You have a defense that's ready to improve this year. What is there not to like? This is your quintessential Colts team. They're perfectly right in the middle, but there's enough there in that Colts team. There's enough playmakers. There's enough of a foundation with that Colts team to where I can see them pursue a 7 or 6 or even a 5 seed this year if they get hot enough. This is a team with a lot of potential, a team with a lot of capabilities. And I think that if they do make the playoffs this year, the Colts are going to have a really viable foundation they can build off of for the future with a young quarterback like Anthony Richardson. This is a very important year. It's Shane Steichen's second year as the Colts head coach, so he now has more of an understanding of what being a head coach in the NFL looks like. He has more of an understanding of the ropes in Indianapolis, and he can build off of last year, because last year, even though they missed the playoffs, I think it was still a successful season for the Colts, just barely missing the playoffs. And you look at the AFC South, the Texans are a clear favorite. But I think that down the stretch, Indy can go toe-to-toe with Jacksonville and Tennessee and squeak in there as a wild card. And that goes for the rest of the AFC as well. I'm excited to watch this team this year. And the Colts are one of those teams that nobody's really talking about right now. I mean, granted, everybody's talking about your Ravens. They're talking about your Eagles. They're talking about your Chiefs, and they should. Those are very good teams. Talking about the Texans, there's a lot of hype around that team. The Lions, the Niners. This is the channel, this is the platform where I'm going to shine a light on teams like the Colts who aren't being talked about a lot, but you can see come out of absolute nowhere and snatch a playoff spot this year. Watch it happen. I guarantee it. I can really see this happening, and I can't wait to see what the Colts do this year. I think they'll be a very entertaining team to watch. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you and the time that you took out of your day to watch the video. And if you enjoyed it, please be sure to like the video and share it, as well as subscribe to The Era. The more likes and subscribers I get on this channel, the more resources I can attain, and the more resources I can attain, the more value I can provide to you, the viewer. And that is how I show my appreciation for you for the time that you devote to watching my videos. So thank you so much, and have a great day.